We are constantly immersed, really, in a very specific story about how success works. You hear it everywhere, right? You can be anything if you just try hard enough. It's this powerful narrative positioning you, the individual, as the ultimate hero, the architect of your own destiny. But what if it's a brilliant illusion? That's the central question. Our source material for today's deep dive, The Collective Lie of Individual Success by Think with Setaleur, really forces us to confront. So our mission here is to go beyond that glossy narrative, to truly question the very architecture of success itself, and maybe uncover some potentially uncomfortable truths hiding beneath it. We're going to try and help you understand what success truly means, who often gets to define it, and why that definition so frequently overlooks the underlying scaffolding, privilege systems, shared contribution that makes so much possible. Society absolutely adores those stories, doesn't it? The individual who supposedly made it against all odds, the solitary genius burning the midnight oil, the entrepreneur who started in their garage. We glorify this image of the self-made success. But Seteleur's work immediately challenges that. It talks about these invisible hands. What are they referring to? What gets stripped away?
Yeah, what's fascinating here is how effectively these stories do strip away critical factors from the equation. It's quite something. When we champion someone as self-made, we're often ignoring crucial elements, things like access to quality education, maybe early exposure to specific fields or ideas,
Right.
Vital networks that open doors, consistent mental and physical health support, that's a big one, inherited stability, whether that's financial or social, and yes, even pure, undeniable luck. Sometimes it just comes down to being in the right place at the right time. Think with Setaleur is pretty unequivocal on this. They say, there is no such thing as a purely self-made individual, full stop. Instead, success, they argue, isn't born in isolation. It's profoundly shaped by infrastructure.
Yeah.
And their analogies really hit home, I think. A bright mind without opportunity may never shine, or a determined heart in the wrong context may never be heard. It really makes you pause, doesn't it? Makes you consider how much potential we might just be overlooking because the context isn't right.
It absolutely does. And, that's fascinating because if we do ignore these underlying supports, these infrastructures, what are the real dangers? What does the source warn us about when we put all the emphasis on just individual effort?
Well, okay, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit concerning. According to Setaleur, solely attributing success to personal effort has some significant and frankly dangerous side effects. For starters, it leads directly to blaming the unsuccessful for their condition.
Ah, right. It's your own fault.
Exactly. If you didn't make it, the logic follows, you just didn't try hard enough, right? Simple as that. It also attaches a kind of moral judgment to achievement, as if, financial success or fame somehow makes you a more virtuous person.
Yeah, that connection between wealth and goodness.
Precisely. And perhaps most critically, from a societal standpoint, it weakens the case for collective investment. It fosters this belief that everyone should just work harder, rather than acknowledging that maybe we need to address systemic issues, improve the infrastructure for success. This mindset, as the source points out, dramatically shifts the burden. It puts the weight of progress squarely onto individual shoulders, often shoulders already bent under societal inequities.
Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture then, what we see as personal achievement is often just the visible tip of the iceberg, the outcome of what the source calls this invisible engine of collective structures. Can you elaborate a bit more on what those structures actually are? How do they play such a silent but powerful role?
Absolutely. It's like, think about that successful entrepreneur again, just as an example. They likely relied on public roads, right, for transportation, for logistics, teachers who nurtured their curiosity way back in school, healthcare systems that kept them or their employees going through illness.
Sure. Stable institutions, legal protections.
Exactly. Legal protections for their business, maybe patents, contracts, even broader things like global peace that allows for trade and innovation. These are all part of the collective structure. And, rarely, if ever, do we see headlines that say, thanks to decades of public investment in roads and education, this entrepreneur succeeded. It just doesn't happen.
No, you never see that.
Think with Setaleur really drives this point home. They say, we erase the collective to spotlight the individual. We tell the story of the climber, but not of the staircase.
That's a great line. The climber, but not the staircase.
It is, isn't it? And the profound consequence of hyper-individualizing success like this is that failure then becomes privatized. It becomes your personal failing. We forget, as the source so poignantly notes, that many fall not because they lacked talent, but because the ladder was never there. The staircase wasn't accessible to them.
And that's such a powerful distinction to make. So this deep dive, it isn't really a rejection of personal ambition or, taking pride in your work. That's not the point.
Not at all.
It's more about a different way of looking at it. Setaleur describes it as an invitation to rethink success as a co-created phenomenon. So if individual effort is crucial, sure, but only within this vital context of collective support. What are the crucial shifts in the questions we ask? How does this reframe encourage us to think differently?
Yeah, it's a really profound shift in perspective, actually. Instead of looking at someone who's made it and just asking, wow, how did they make it? We start to ask, okay, what made it possible for them to make it? What were the conditions, the support?
The staircase.
The staircase, exactly. And conversely, instead of looking at someone struggling and asking, why are they struggling? Maybe implying some personal lack. We shift to asking what barriers are still in place, what's missing in their environment or their access. The broader impact of reframing it like this could be huge. I mean, it can foster greater empathy, for one. It could inspire genuine policy reform, focusing on building better staircases. And it could drive a significant cultural shift, moving us away from just idolizing lone heroes, towards truly valuing the ecosystems, the communities, the structures that empower growth for everyone. It's about acknowledging the full picture, really.
Okay, acknowledging the full picture, that makes sense.
But this raises an important question then. If it's not the complete picture, the self-made idea, why is holding on to it so deeply harmful? What's the cost?
Right, what are the downsides beyond just being inaccurate?
Well, the source argues it breeds disconnection. It essentially turns society into this giant competition, winner takes all, rather than a collaboration. It reinforces hierarchies that look like they're earned purely on merit, but in truth are often inherited or constructed through unequal systems.
Okay.
And think about the effect on those who do achieve what's defined as success. It can be incredibly isolating. They can feel trapped in this sort of performance of self-sufficiency, afraid to show vulnerability or even acknowledge their interdependence.
Like they have to keep up the myth.
Precisely. And for everyone else, this myth can breed immense shame. Shame for not achieving a dream that, as the source points out, was never designed for equal access in the first place.
That's heavy. So ultimately, the vision that Think with Setaleur is putting forward isn't about tearing people down.
No, not at all.
It's for a culture where success isn't seen as this zero-sum game or some solitary mountain you have to climb all alone. It's about cultivating what they call a more honest success, one that actively recognizes the intricate interplay between what you do, your individual action, and the crucial societal conditions that enable it. And it encourages you, the listener, to consider maybe a new set of questions when thinking about success, whether it's your own or someone else's. Questions like, who helped me get here? Whose unseen labor supported this outcome? And perhaps most powerfully, how can I use my position, my success, to widen the path for others?
Yeah, those are the crucial questions. So let's revisit our initial deep dive question then. Is individual success the biggest collective lie? The nuanced answer from the source seems to be perhaps not a lie exactly, but maybe a half-truth. A half-truth repeated so often that it became dangerous.
A dangerous half-truth.
Yeah. And that leaves us with this final thought, something for you to mull over. If our success, whatever form it takes, is truly built on these invisible bridges, these collective structures, then maybe the most noble, the most impactful use of that success isn't just to enjoy it, but to make those invisible bridges visible and stronger for everyone else. It's really time we start telling the full story, isn't it?